As was widely expected, this week the Reserve Bank Board cut the cash rate by 1/4 percentage point to 4.1%. This was what we expected in light of the pleasant surprise we've had on inflation, which landed at the end of 2024 with underlying inflation 0.2 percentage points below what the RBA had been expecting, and even a little below what we had been expecting. So it was right that they should seek to reduce some of the restrictiveness of monetary policy, given what had happened on inflation. But they are also extremely cautious, and some would say a little hawkish. The labour market, in contrast to inflation, has surprised on the tight side, and it looks like the labour market didn't ease at all during the second half of last year. The RBA has taken some signal from this and remained very cautious about the prospects for inflation falling any further from the 2.7% annual rate that it achieved over the second half of last year. In fact, their forecast for underlying inflation remains flat as a pancake at 2.7% for the entire forecast horizon out to mid-2027. They've also revised down their forecast for unemployment, now expecting the unemployment rate to stabilise at 4.2%, whereas they had previously expected 4.5% as the peak, similar to what we had been expecting. And because of this tight labour market, they are concerned that wages growth may not come down any further. They remain concerned about productivity growth, and they regard the path that the market had been expecting for the cash rate to be too bullish and too swift a reduction to get inflation all the way down to 2.5%. Recall that since the RBA review, the RBA now has a mandate that says that they should always be aiming for the midpoint of the inflation target. With a 2 to 3% target range, that's 2.5%. And so their 2.7% forecast is a little above that. This means that with a tighter than expected labour market and a higher than desired inflation rate, albeit only a little, they feel that there isn't much room for them to withdraw that tight stance of monetary policy much further. But we shall see. There's a lot of uncertainty. They've already been surprised pleasantly by the reduction in inflation. Their forecasts for consumption growth and inflation are a little above where most people have them, including Westpac. So we'll see who's right, and we'll see how they'll respond. Just as they've been pleasantly surprised by inflation recently and adjusted, the data flow will determine policy from here.
The content of this recording is informational and of general nature only, and is not intended to constitute a research report or reflect any recommendation or financial advice. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs, and investment decisions should not be based on it. You should obtain your own independent advice before proceeding with any investment decision. Whilst every effort has been taken to ensure that the contents are correct and any opinions, forecasts, conclusions are reasonably held based on information at the date of recording, Westpac does not make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or information contained in this recording, and any liability therefore is expressly disclaimed to the extent permitted by law. None of the material included in this recording should be copied, published, or reproduced in whole or in part without the prior written permission of Westpac.